Hi, Amber.
Hello, Jen. Hello. I know. Oh my gosh. Whenever we take this to like video, people are going to see exactly what we're doing and it's ridiculous. So, getting it all out now. So, welcome back to the Morally Gray Babes. We're your hosts, Amber and Jen. And today is going to be a different type of podcast. We are going to be kind of giving you the 101 into dark romance. It's like classes in session. I'm Professor Amber.
I'm Professor Jen.
There you go.
Welcome to Morally Gray Babes. We're your hosts, Jen and Amber, two unapologetic book addicts diving deep into the steamiest reads, hottest book boyfriends, and those spicy moments that make you blush.
Amber here. And we're not just here to talk plot twists and character arcs. We're breaking down everything from our favorite quotes to the spice levels that really bring the heat.
Expect a lot of laughs, a little cussing, and some seriously hot takes. Whether we're gushing over fictional men or dishing out the truth on what books deserve the hype, nothing is off limits.
So buckle up, Buttercup, and get ready for real, raw, and totally unfiltered book talk. Because we're the book besties you didn't know you needed. If you ever dipped your toe into dark romance or you're curious about what the hell the hype is about, today's episode is your ultimate intro guide. We're calling it Dark Romance 101, what you're getting into and why you'll love it.
We're breaking it all down. What dark romance is, the tropes that you'll see, why people love it, and even what makes a difference from other romance genres. Plus, we're going to give you some of our favorite recommendations from past episodes. So let's dive in.
Perfect. Number one, what is dark romance? So I feel like this is a perfect way to just kind of start at the beginning. And it's romance. I feel like there's like a big eye roll right there, right? It's romance with darker themes. We're talking obsession, possession, power struggles, redemption, trauma, taboo relationships. Dark romance is typically really intense, emotional, and often pushes boundaries. It makes you squirm a little bit.
Or clutch your pearls, as you like to say.
Or clutch your pearls. Yes, the Southern girl in me. Yes.
And while it's not for everyone, it really can be so good when it's done right. It often dives into morally gray characters, hence the podcast name, and it doesn't always tie things up with a fluffy bow, although we do love the ones that tie up with fluffy bows.
Yes.
But they're not all going to be like that. You will see raw emotion, gritty plot lines, and characters that are messy, broken, but oh so compelling and sometimes even yummy.
Yes, I think one of our favorite books that we both agree is like a 4.5, 5-star. It's
a 5-star.
You don't even know what book I'm talking about.
I'm waiting.
Okay, I was going to say Her Saint, His Sinner. That's
exactly what I knew you were going to say.
Well, there you go. That book, it's a duology. I wouldn't say that is one of our favorite dark romances, I would say.
Yes.
And when you think about that particular book, there is a mass stalker. There is kidnapping.
Yeah. Yes.
So there's very much obsession. There's unaliving. There's very much obsession. So,
well, that's our favorite.
The character is a morally black character, right? He is so far past the gray zone. He's like black. So a morally black character, and it's just so yummy. And yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with a good dark romance. So some common tropes that you may see in dark romance books is morally gray heroes or morally black. Like, I forgot his name. Saint something. What was his? Saint. Was it just Saint?
That's all I remember is Saint. I don't even know if he got a last name. I don't really care.
He had a last name, but his nickname was Saint. But anyway, we're going to keep going. he was a morally black. So you have a morally gray or morally black hero. What this means is they're not the nice guy, right? They're dangerous ones with a past. They have a twisted moral compass, but you just can't help but love them anyway. And when I say they're not a nice guy, it doesn't mean that they're not nice to the female main character. They're just not nice to those around them. But they typically,
Except the one they're obsessed over.
well, that's what I was gonna say. Except
Yeah.
for the love interest, they're typically cinnamon rolls for them. So you have this morally gray or black hero. You have fated mates. This is often used in paranormal dark romances where soulmates meet under dramatic or dangerous circumstances. You typically have forbidden love, like think professor and student, boss or employee, which I think you like boss and
Mine is
employees.
my boss is, yeah. And yours is always in the academia.
Yes,
Not always. One
I
of your favorites.
do like dark academia.
Yeah.
I do.
Yes. We're reading
And
them.
you're welcome. There's also like the mafia princess with the undercover cop. So anything that's technically off limits. Like when I think of like forbidden love, one of the ones that comes to mind that's kind of popular for being like this kind of taboo relationship is Credence. And it's kind of like a step uncle and step cousin with a girl. So I would say that's also, taboo is like when you have step siblings getting together. There was one that I sent Jen to like, hey, check out this snippet. And it was a stepfather and a stepdaughter relationship. And she was like, what are we doing?
But what did I say? Let's read it.
Yeah, I know, exactly. So some other tropes in this is captive and captor. So sometimes there's kidnappings, there's ransom situations or any power imbalance dynamic that challenges consent.
Like forced marriage.
Forced
is
marriage,
a
arranged
big one.
marriage. Yep, those things keep
Yes.
popping up. Those tend to happen in the mafia settings. I see.
Oh,
The other trope would be revenge and redemption. So these characters are driven by vengeance or haunted by their past, but love hopefully gives them a second chance. So those are typically the common tropes. I feel like that's redundant, but those are the common
yeah.
tropes in dark romances.
And, sometimes all of these tropes exist in one book and it's chaos and it's spicy and it's absolutely addictive to us anyway.
So Jen, tell us why you think readers love dark romance.
That's a big question, right? Why do people even love dark romance? Sometimes husbands were like, why are you reading that crap? Right? Not my husband, because he gets the benefits of me reading that crap.
Oh my
But
gosh,
but that is a question, right? It gives us a safe space to explore darker emotions and fantasies, which is totally natural. And it's also about intensity, catharsis, and depth, and sometimes even working through some of your stuff in the past as well. There's often a slow kind of unraveling of trauma and pain, which sometimes makes that love feel kind of earned in a way. Plus, who doesn't love a redemption arc?
right? And the spice. Dark romance is usually off the charts. I feel like most of our dark romances tend to lead to the definitely above the 3, probably hovering around the 4 on our spice chart. So I
Yes, the
love
spice be spicing.
the spice be spicing. I love dark romance because it is that safe space, like you mentioned, to explore those darker emotions. I remember us reading a book. I don't even remember which one it was. It sounds weird, but it was like a why choose. There was like multiple love interests, and one of
Yeah.
the male main characters was going through something that he had it was like his character arc, right? His growth
Yes.
through the book, and he was
Yes.
processing something that happened to him. And I was like, oh, something very similar happened to me when I was in college. And it was just like, oh, that's like
Yeah.
it
It
just
opened up a great conversation for us to even deepen our friendship by having the uncomfortable conversations about the things that are not so great in our past. Yeah, I think it was cathartic.
Yeah, so I agree. I think sometimes just reading those dark romances are cathartic. And yes, I would say that dark romance has I almost curse, but it's our podcast, so fuck it.
That's
Like
our podcast.
there's like a fuck ton of like red flags in dark romance. Okay. Like we are not
Oh,
saying these things or what we want. Like, fuck no.
no,
But
no.
it's fun to read and it definitely helps sometimes process emotions and it definitely helps process situations that you may have buried yourself and maybe even relate better to others because of the storyline, right? It's not just like a fluffy rom-com. Most of the characters are dealing with like some emotional
Yeah.
trauma, and I just love them. And for Jen, the spice be spicing. So
Oh, yeah. All right. So let's get to the fun stuff. Books that
yes,
we've talked about on the pod that fall into the dark comedy romance category. And the cool thing about this is on our blog, we're going to actually link directly to those episodes so that
yes.
you're going to be able to, after listening to us, you're like, okay, I'll dip my toe in. You can go through these for us.
Well, let's just start off with one of my favorite genres, right? My favorite tropes in this genre, which is dark academia, coming up. So we have Nocticadia by Carrie Lake. Like, I felt like this was like a dark, twisted Hogwarts medical school.
Yeah,
I
medical
loved it.
school. I totally agree. I totally
I
agree.
So for those that don't know, I have a veterinary medical degree. I am a veterinarian by education. And so this book talked a lot about parasitology and research.
Oh, break that down what parasitology is.
Oh, sorry. It's the study of
Because
parasites.
like people like me, she said that word. I'm like, okay.
It's the study of parasites. And this one was particularly like worms. And not that I like worms or anything like that, but I just loved the science behind it. And I like that kind of it was a professor, student. Oh gosh. So it
I
just
know,
checked a lot of
so
boxes.
good.
Like we have this morally, I wouldn't even say he's great. So we have this morally black hero. We have this obsession. You have this forbidden professor student dynamic. You have a little bit of voyeurism
A little bit.
in the classroom. I don't want to give it away, but like you have some
No, no,
voyeurism.
no. Don't give it away.
So
But
I
yeah.
feel like that is like a little bit of dark romance. It's a heavy dose of mystery. If you
Yes.
love gothic vibes, if you ever wanted to be like, oh, what's a dark, twisted Hogwarts medical school look like? This is your
Mm,
jam, right?
yes.
Nocticadia.
And the mystery for someone who's not medically knowledgeable, the mystery took you through it. So if there was any confusion, like you were quickly unconfused. Like the medical jargon didn't overwhelm this book. That has happened to me in the past reading books that
Mm.
have medical background. And let's not forget that tension
Oh,
between
dude.
Lilia and Dr. Devrick Bainwell, which is Dr. Death. He's unhinged in like the best way.
The mouth on this man.
Dirty mouth.
Oh my gosh. We read this, what was it? In November. So we read this probably like 5 months ago. I still remember some of the quotes from this man. And another thing about dark romance is that he was so obsessed with the female main character that he would unalive and torture someone if they harmed her, if they looked at her, if they touched her. And he like
Mm,
the
mm.
way that he was so obsessed. I remember reading it. I'm like, why don't you talk to me like that? To my hamster. And he was like, okay. And so he said it, and I was like, oh no. No, no,
No,
no.
not out
I
of
was
your
like,
cinnamon roll mouth.
no. It's like I was like, it's better in a book. I was like, it's not you. It's like this feels
It's not you.
it's just
He's all, I tried.
yeah. But it's just oh, my husband's such a I told him he was a cinnamon roll. He's like, I don't like that. I'm like, oh, it means you're so like you're
That's what I
so
told my
sweet.
husband. He goes, I'm a badass. I am not a cinnamon roll. Oh, okay. Calm your jets.
That's like you're a
you're a
cinnamon roll
badass.
to me. Like you're ooey gooey nice to me.
But even in dark romances, that's actually a really great point. Typically in dark romances, the morally black character is highly obsessively obsessed with the female
Yes.
main character. And that's the part I think that we love the most. Not the black characters necessarily. It's the way that they're so different to everyone else because they're completely obsessed with that female character. It's dark academia meets romance, and we were here for it.
So the next one is Blood and Thorns by Eve Newton. So this is a paranormal, polyamorous. This one leans into the fated mates trope hard. Violet gets paired with not one, but 3 love interests. And they are named Cain, Thorn, and Flint. And each one brings something totally different to the table. And I would say, like, paranormal, and I'm totally going to botch this because I should have looked this up before we started talking about the differences.
I mean, our podcast, we're just here naturally in the world. So you go right ahead.
So when I think of like what's the difference between fantasy and paranormal, like people get really intense with this. So like fantasy is like magical creatures, or I should say magical beings, right? So like fae and I can't even think of any
dragons,
shifters and yeah,
shifters
so
and
shifters. And then when you get to paranormal,
sirens.
yeah, because she's reading us sirens.
We just read that.
Now. So now with paranormal, it's like more like demons and vampires and ghosts, and you have those kind of things. So this one, it's a paranormal, but I would also say it was like paranormal fantasy because there were some shifters in there. There was other beings besides just the paranormal. So, and polyamorous obviously means more than one love, right? So lots of love going around. So lots of love. So, and there's also a difference there, right? And we talked about this before because I was very confused. Like, what's the difference between a reverse harem and why choose? And I thought that was really good to get into. It was just a conversation we had back and forth, is that a reverse harem is multiple love interests for one woman. Like she's the magnet and everybody's attracted and like focused on her, one woman, multiple men. And then you have the why choose where it's typically one woman and multiple men. There could also be other females involved.
The reverse.
But it's everybody gets together, right? There could be multiple partners in this why choose. There could be some of the guys are together as well as with the girl. So just when you're reading the descriptions, if you don't like a certain kind of trope, no, you know.
And that goes for all tropes, by the way. Yeah. If there's a certain kind of trope that you're not like into, that's why you want to read the book's disclaimers, or what do they call them?
The triggers?
Yes, triggers. Couldn't think of the word to save my life.
That's okay. I don't think we found a trope or a genre that we haven't liked, right? I think.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if this is a trope, but like, you know, high school love and then you get back together again, or
second chance.
Big on miscommunication. Like that's
amnesia.
Also something.
Amnesia is just not amnesia. For me, okay.
Yeah. So there are some tropes that we don't like, but fortunately we're completely aligned with that. So you will never find that on our podcast.
No,
we're not reading them.
No. Okay. So we're just going to segue into this other topic, is that I've been trying to get you to read this series by, I think it's Ruby Dixon, and it's Ice Planet Barbarians, right? And it's got like about 20 books in this series. And I remember I was starting to get into reading again. And I go in, this was before the podcast with Jen, but I would get so focused on like one genre and I would read every book I could until I was like burnt out. And so I would probably, I had like 1 month where it was just all monster romance. And I probably
we did one of those in the very beginning of the podcast because you're like, let's read this one. I'm like, yeah, let's read it. And I was like, what are these creatures? I didn't even know there were books like that.
But I like
a bakery. It's like
I know, and that was so mild compared to what I was reading.
It was great. Okay.
I'm glad you loved it. But I would just get when I say I would get very obsessed and read into this trope. Like 1 month it was just monsters, and it was just like I probably read 100 books on monster romance. And then I'm like, oh, burn out on minotaurs and orcs and all this stuff. And so then I would go down to Alien, and I remember reading the Ice Planet Barbarian series. And my husband saw that I was reading, and so he went to a local bookstore and he got like one or two off the shelf, and he came home and surprised me. And so I have like 7. And then when I got to, I think it was like number 8, I read it and I was like, oh, I'm going to go purchase this like on Amazon or whatever. It's Amnesia. And I was like, hard stop. I haven't read the rest.
Done with the series. The series is dead to me.
It was like hard stops. Anyway, so that's how much like amnesia tropes really like burn my hide. Like they're not for me.
Yeah, that's intense for you to not finish a series that you love. That's intense.
Hard stop.
Hard stop. Oh my gosh. So in terms of Blood and Thorns, like it's emotionally layered. There's some trauma healing, and you really feel for these characters. This book's like mixes tenderness with spice in a really fresh way. And we think you'll love it, and you should go listen to our podcast on it.
Exactly. The next book we have is Captivate by E.J. Lawson. So Captivate, this one gave us the sweet blend of megaverse with emotional intensity. You have Riley's journey from survival to love is full of tension and inner conflict. And there's this pack dynamic with multiple alphas and deep trusting building. It's really a delicious read in the megaverse.
Yeah. And what stood out for me too is how the book focused on bonding, not just the spice. Though, let's be real, the spice was really delicious also. A megaverse is clearly like the most spicy genre, I would say. Would you agree with that? Well, maybe not. I mean, pretty much. I mean, like in general, if you throw a rock and hit one of the Omegaverse books, it'll probably be one of the spiciest books.
I would say the spiciest books we have read thus far have been in megaverses. That question and statement was like a SAT prep question. All apples are fruit and all fruit are apples. No, but all the books that we've read, the spiciest are megaverses. True. So,
true.
Yes. The next one is one of Jen's favorite series. It starts with Tempt Me by K.A. Tucker. While this one's not a dark romance, in my opinion, it definitely dips into the forbidden workplace dynamic, the age gap territory. You have Abigail and Henry Wolfe. Their relationship is steamy, it's layered, it's full of miscommunication, but not in a bad way. But it's got like this slow, when I say slow burn.
Oh, books, multiple books worth.
Like there's spice throughout all the books, but this is like 5-book series, right? 5 or 6. I can't remember.
I think it's I think it's 5, but it could be 6, honestly, because I haven't read the last one.
It's 5 books, people. And so like when we started
with the same couple going through from like all books are with the same couple. So
it's a slow burn. I mean, they have moments of, spicy, steamy scenes throughout together. However, when I chose this series to read, it says like the Wolf Hotel series. And I was like, oh, these are going to be like interconnected standalones with each couple getting a story. No baby cakes. No. So slow burn.
That was my assumption also. But I mean, Henry Wolfe is the definition of controlling, protective book boyfriend. And I devoured this series. Like for me, it was a total binge read. I only didn't read the last one because I was getting behind on reading books and needed to move on. This is the one where I sent a Voxer to Amber and I said, I fucking love this book and I'm already reading 2 and I'm halfway through or I'm toward the end. You're like, Okay. Are we reading more than one?
She was like, I remember getting it, and you were like, where are you in the book? I'm like, I'm 80% in. And you were like, oh, the cliffhanger. Ouch. I'm diving into book 2. And I was like, okay, that wasn't the itinerary. That's fine. And then when I finished, I was like, I didn't really think that was a cliffhanger. What? I'm already done with book 2. I'm
I
on 3. And I was like, how did
I
she
still
get
disagree with you on that. There's no, it was a cliffhanger,
Oh my
people.
God, it was not a cliffhanger. I feel like you should read the book, listen to our episode of Tempt Me, and then come back and tell Jen that she was wrong.
Or
That
Amber,
cliffhanger,
how wrong she was.
that the cliffhanger was not cliffing. Like it was, I thought like it didn't make me want to grab the next one, but I will
Correct.
say that Henry Wolf
Mm.
made me want to grab the next one. Not the cliffhanger, just Mr. Wolf.
Jeez. Whoa. Yes. Yeah.
So
Yummy. Yummy.
there are some things that you do need to keep in mind with dark romance, right? So I will say that dark romance books tend to be 18 plus, right? Let's just say that.
For sure.
Yeah. So I would also say that dark romance is not for everyone. And a lot of the authors put their content warnings, trigger warnings in the forefront. So definitely make sure to read those. I remember we were reading a book, I want to say it was a megaverse, and it was a megaverse. And I did not read the trigger warnings, and I just jumped in, and I was like 3 chapters in, and I was like, Jen, how you feeling? It's like, I apologize. I did
I'm
this.
like, the torture is torturing me.
Oh my God. It was so dark and twisted. And I was like,
It was good, but it
I
was
feel like
hard
we
to
should
get
keep
through.
going because it's got to get better. Like, not better writing. It was really great book. It was
No, it was
just
really good.
so
Dark.
bleak the first 3 or 4 chapters, and then it turned around. But please read your trigger warnings. I feel like that should be, because there are these books I feel like do include elements that are
Yes.
triggering and are uncomfortable. There was one book that we read. It was a mafia book, and there was a guy who was getting tortured, and I was like, I can't, flip, look for dialogue, flip. Like I couldn't handle the torture, and that's okay. And that's okay.
Yeah.
But so just make sure you protect yourself is what I'm saying. It's like, know what you can handle, know what you can't. There's no shame like for putting a book down because it hits the nerve or it makes you uncomfortable. Like it's okay.
Yeah, reading is for pleasure. So read, like, you're not getting paid to do it. So read what makes you feel good and don't feel pressured to love every single trope. It's okay to have things that you are not going to be reading because you don't feel good after reading it. And then there's also some books that have horrible writing, and it doesn't really matter if it's easy to read or not. If the writing is not great, that's okay. Put the book down. There is literally something for everyone out there and for every kind of reader. So just giving you the freedom to do what you want.
may love amnesia books. Like more power to you. Read
Yes.
book 8 in the Ice Play Barbarians. Tell me what happens, and I'll read number 9. Like, I think it's book 8. I had to go look back, but I just remember I got really far into that book, and I was like, oh.
Better than not checking ahead of time and then reading it and being super upset or disappointed. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I want to say it was in the epilogue. I was reading it, and like with her, I was thinking like she was giving like insight into like the next book and like what was happening with like the next couple. And there was like this huge storm, and one of the guys, he like got injured, and when he came to, he remembered everybody but his wife. And I was like, I would just be crushed.
Are you kidding?
Like,
yeah, no.
I was like, oh, I can't do that. The huckster thinks I'm silly for not liking it or being uncomfortable, but I can't help it, dude.
It's about enjoyment at the end of the day. If you don't enjoy that, it doesn't matter how great the writing is, you're not going to enjoy it.
No, it gets me so uncomfortable, my palms tingle. Does that make sense? Like,
No, but I get it.
I know, it's
I get
more
it.
weird.
It's a
It was more weird than normal. No,
no,
like,
no.
you
Everyone has
ever
different reactions. That's
so
yeah.
whenever, like, we read something and it makes me uncomfortable, my palms, like, will tingle, and I know, like, "Oh."
I get like a sweat from head to toe. It's like a weird feeling when in that situation. So
Well,
your hands tingle, I sweat. It's beautiful.
I I think I would like the hand tingling over the sweat.
Yeah, I would too. I would too. Thanks.
Oh my god.
Thanks.
Such an ass.
I think that's hilarious. So,
My god.
FYI, you guys, we're like best friends in real life. We're not just
Yeah.
podcast hosts. So, we do mess with each other a little bit.
My god, I'm such an ass. Okay, sorry. So,
You're
let's just
not
keep
an
going.
ass.
Oh my god. Okay. So, babes, that was basically your crash course on dark romance and how what tropes we don't like, right? And we hope you feel more confident diving into these shadowy, spicy reads with these morally black heroes.
Oof. And don't forget to check out the show notes for links to every book that we mentioned and also in our past episodes. And if you haven't taken a look at our book boyfriend quiz yet, shout out to Amber. She's brilliant at how she creates this stuff. Go do that immediately because I get a giggle out of it every time I look at it.
Yeah, and we're going to want to know who your morally gray man is. So until next time, stay morally gray.